Welcome back to David's Marvelous Pigments Adventures. I hope you've been enjoying the painting we've been doing. Today we're painting the Dwarven uh, Druid from the Spellblade set from Wildspire. Um, if I was to be using this particular mini in a campaign for a character, I'd probably use it playing a Spore Druid just because of the big mushroom cap hat that the Druid is wearing. And that seems kind of thematic with mushrooms, spores, along with that Spore Druid. Um, so we'll be painting that, trying to do some earth tones, along with the bright reds and yellows that will go into the mushroom to really give this sort of a farmer look into our Dwarven Druid. What I wanted to talk about today is a difference that comes up in Pathfinder, Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and even Dungeons and Dragons 3rd Edition, which doesn't show up in D&D 5th Edition and 1D&D. Those newer editions of D&D have opted for a different approach, and this is the idea of bounded accuracy that shows up in the newer editions of D&D. So what would happen in older editions, and especially starting out in 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons, when you were becoming proficient in a skill, rather than just having a flat proficiency bonus that was added to your skill. For example, if you were a rogue and you wanted to try and pick a lock, you would have a lock picking skill, and in 3rd edition you would train in it. Each time you gained a level, you'd get a number of skill points that you would push into your lock picking ability to make you better at it. And that would make it so that you would have you could divide those skill points up amongst the different skills you wanted to have. In practice, what this did is made you proficient, or made it so that those skills that you wanted to be good at, you were maxed out in them. And your maximum you could have in any skill was your level plus 3. So you would get, as that rogue who wanted to be good at picking locks, you would pump level 1 4 points into that skill, and then every level when you got more skill points, you'd put 1 more in there, because that's the most you could have, is your current level plus 3, and each time you gain a level, that goes up 1, so you'd put in another skill point. This was good because it let you get better at that particular skill, but then by the time you were at high levels, maybe level 20, just to take the extreme there, your die roll, you would roll your d20 to see if you succeeded, and then you'd add 23, because you'd have 23 skill points in there, as well as any other bonuses you had for magic items, dexterity bonus, anything like that. So your die rolls, your overall roll there could be really high. This would make most mundane locks in this example completely useless, because your rolls would just be so astronomically high. In other places, to kind of, you get the same sort of thing in like a fighter's attack roll, or the saving throw for your wizard spells. And since your enemy, your opponent, would have the exact same sort of bonus on their saves, on their saving throw, or on their armor class, you would get this, that each time you gained a level, it would improve your skill. You're putting more skill points in there just kept you up with your enemy improving at that same rate. So there wasn't a real difference in that, other than lower level monsters, their ability to hit you became trivial. So you could have a swarm, a huge army of goblins attacking a single high level fighter, and that swarm of goblins couldn't do anything to the fighter because his armor class was so high, and they couldn't roll that high because they had a lower level challenge rating. So that lower number wasn't being added to their attack roll, or the lower number was being added to that roll, and so they could never hit the high armor class. So these lower level challenges became trivial. And that's, on the one hand, seems good because then you can showcase how powerful your high level individual is. But you could have two individuals with the same exact strength, and one of them, because he's got all these points in his athletics ability, can lift up a huge boulder. Whereas another one who has the same strength or even a higher strength, because they're a lower level and haven't pumped as many skill points into their ability to into their athletic skill, can't lift it up as much, or can't pick up a boulder that's as strong or as heavy. So you get that sort of weird discrepancy there. The way they took care of this in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is that your level was no longer added to any of your rolls. You were just proficient. And your proficiency bonus increased with level. So if you were a rogue, again, and you were proficient in lockpicking, then you, at level 1, you would get a +2 to your roll. And at level 16, it would max out at, off the top of my head, I believe it's at +6 to your roll, and that was the highest. Now you could get a little bit more with, your dexterity bonus on top of that 6, but you weren't going to be rolling 40, 45, which was very easy to achieve in older editions. You would roll your d20 and you'd max that out at 20, add your 6 for your proficiency, and then a max of 5 for your ability score, and you'd get a 31 tops. And that would be like the highest difficulty class to get. When those seem to typically max out at around 30. Now, I like that it makes keeps you in range, that even someone who's not as skilled has a chance at some of these harder things, and it also makes it so that if you had a swarm of goblins, a huge group of goblins attacking a small group of fighters, their sheer numbers are going to make them a formidable opponent, or at least a non-trivial opponent, which you wouldn't get in some of these older editions. The thing I don't like about it is that once you're proficient in something, first of all, you don't get a whole lot of choice in what you choose your proficiencies in. You sort of just get them assigned, for the most part, based on class. Fighters are proficient in athletics, rogues in acrobatics, and stealth. You don't get a lot of customization that you do in the other versions of doing it, but you get a neater, I think a better distribution of what your cap can be. And this is why they call it bounded accuracy, because that maximum was set. The best you could get was around, the highest roll you could get is roughly 30, 31. And rather than giving you additional bonuses from, say, magical items or beneficial situations, you would get what they called advantage, where you just roll twice and take the better roll. So I think that was neater, but there's a feature from Pathfinder 2nd edition that I really like, and that is that as you increase in levels, rather than your proficiency bonus just going up at a set rate, you get skill improvements, where you would take you would be trained in something, and that would give you like your +2. Later you would become an expert in it, and that would become a +4. I believe 4 or maybe 6. I think it was 4. And then at master becomes 6, and then at legendary, I think that was +8. So you could scale up your skills by choosing which ones you wanted to improve from trained to expert, from expert to master, and from master to legendary, rather than it going up at a set rate. All right, let me know in the comments what you guys think about bounded accuracy, if you like that, or if you prefer the um, larger scale of increase to your abilities. Let me know what you think about that, and go ahead and like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Thanks, guys, and see you in the next one.